we say immigrant communities, but there are many different types of immigrant communities geographically, different socioeconomic areas that immigrants come from. So when you think about that, when you think about all these different immigrant communities, South Asian, Latin American, even European, African,
Yeah.
um, is there, how do you see this? This is a big question, but how do you see them reacting differently to something like the Black Lives Matter protests? Are some more interested than others in getting involved? Is it really an individual choice? I mean, when you look at who's come together in these protests and these conversations, what do you really see as far as these different groups of immigrants?
Well, I mean, what's challenging about, like you say, is about the immigration communities is that across the world, political polarization is a global issue. Oppression is a global issue. You know, hierarchies of oppression are global issues. And as I understand it, you know, I can speak personally to the South Asian community. You know, Indian immigrant communities, we're the second largest foreign-born population in the country. And we are not what we used to be. I mean, I think the post-1965 Indian immigrants who came here were largely upper caste, primarily Brahmin, and were professional, and were really, I mean, many people tell stories of arriving at airports and being given a green card on arrival. You know, the experience of the earlier generation of professional Indian immigrants is not what is reflected in the population today. For example, I think the largest ever mass deportation over the southern U.S. border was about 300 Indian immigrants who were trying to cross over the border. And we know that the migration journey from India now is very, very complicated. It's vast. I mean, we're seeing massive spikes as India becomes politically unstable. And we've spoken about this before, as human rights abuses become much more ingrained and much more rapid and much more widespread in Indian society as political instability increases there. We've seen massive amounts of asylum seekers from India all over the world. And we know that these immigration pathways and these immigration journeys are global. So, you know, someone may try out the Gulf for a little while. They may try out Malaysia or Indonesia for a little bit, and then ultimately make their way, you know, across the ocean to Europe or to the United States. There is no single immigrant destination for many of these immigrant communities. And at the same time, undocumentedness, working class immigration is kind of on the rise. So what we see also in immigrant communities, specifically the South Asian community, but also in Latin American communities, is that, you know, these hierarchies of oppression are being reproduced here and are being reinforced here by US policy that kind of erases the diversity of our communities and also kind of creates this false narrative that a lot of people in a lot of immigrant communities, in their interest in kind of self-preservation, buy into these false narratives about who is the good immigrant and who is the bad immigrant and who deserves to be here and who is breaking the rules and who is following the rules, and this meritocracy conversation. And we see this play out in every aspect of American life.